It is time to tune up the band and bask in the glory of a bona fide legend, for it is another episode of the Sweet Chinwag podcast. I am Sam, alongside Riordan and Dan, as we continue our journey through this wacky world of professional wrestling. Chaps, hello there. How are you doing?
I'm so hyped. I'm so hyped right now.
Dude, I totally understand why.
I've been so excited to do this episode. I mean, since we first talked about when we were planning episodes out right back at the beginning of all this is one we've always wanted to do.
Well, yeah, this has been in the works since at least June or July.
Yeah, I think it's because listeners, Sam does a lot of research for this podcast. Like, I know we're all wacky and stuff, but it's like, no, we do our research, and for this one, we really had to get our notes compiled and get our thoughts.
Having to go very long history of this person.
Well, there's a lot to work with, you know.
and through almost every major promotion, through almost every major moment, and every kind of major storyline this person's been a part of. It's insane. It's insane just how much, when I researched it, this person has been through and how integral he has been to the world of professional wrestling. So no, so hyped for this episode. So hyped. Anyway, as usual, we give you this podcast thanks to those lovely people over at SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and thanks to those lovely, lovely people over at Project Dits, we now are on more platforms, but always will be, forever pending other platforms.
Always be pending.
Alright, so before we get on to our main portion of this episode, of this absolute legend of the business, it is time to visit Dan for this week's wrestling news.
Dun 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 down.
Wrestling news.
I had to give it a little bit more of a funk with my
I can tell you're excited.
Little bit of
yeah. No, I told you. I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this day. But we got to go for the news first. So let's go for the news. Let's do this.
Yeah, so let's get through it. And let's go on to Raw. And obviously, we're all kind of reeling after the revelation of the Hurt Business seemingly breaking up. We don't know if it's a swerve or if it's any kind of story. Everyone's been out there and said, look, this is stupid.
Yes.
Better be a swerve.
There really isn't a whole lot else to really say. Because we've said that the Hurt Business have been the hottest thing on Raw for pretty much since they arrived.
It's been like 6 months or something.
Something like that.
I would say the entirety of 2020, but let's all remember that MVP started Rocky with Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink.
Yeah,
and then he redeemed himself.
I love Shane Thorne.
Yes,
absolute king. But it just didn't work out.
But thank goodness he turned that around with the Hurt Business, which just makes it even more heartbreaking.
Yes. But no, it's a real shame though, and I think that Raw's been needing something like this, and obviously Bobby Lashley's been pretty good as champion so far. Obviously, hasn't really had a major moment, but at least something like this sets me up for the cursed reality. I'm calling it, because it's it just gives me the feeling that he's going to lose at Mania, and it's just going to be so Drew can win the title in front of fans again.
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, that's
and that's no hit on Drew.
None on Drew whatsoever.
No.
It's just people wanted Bobby Lashley to be champion as part of the Hurt Business.
Yes. And now...
because I would have liked to have had if The Miz held up to Mania. And then, you had Drew and then Bobby Lashley won it, because that would have been a huge moment. But we have what we have.
This is why we can't have nice things as wrestling fans.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
We obviously now know that Sheamus is due to face Matt Riddle for the US title at Mania. It's kind of just been a quick bodge job of a build in that it's basically taken place over like maybe 2 weeks.
Speaking of botch,
yeah. Speaking of botch and Matt Riddle, he just seemingly forgot his lines and was like, "Okay, cool, see ya. I'm out, Oscar." And just scooted away. Oscar's face is one of like what just happened.
Yep. But apparently it was a pre-tape. That's the worst part. And apparently Bruce Pritchard and Vince absolutely fell on the floor laughing.
I mean, maybe it's their thing of like, haha, get it? He uses the weed.
He's literally turning into Sean Penn's character in his Fast Times at Ridgemont High, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. Like his character now is he does the weed. Haha, get it? He likes eating food. Oh, he forgets things. Haha, he has a scooter. Do you know he has a scooter?
Just think of it this way. It was either going to be him, or if he stuck around, it was going to be Matt Seidel.
Yeah, pretty much.
Someone bored to get high, apparently.
That's why I was really worried about MSK.
Yes.
Because I was like, if they just bring them in, they're like, okay, your character is you smoke weed.
And apparently Vince's mindset for that is, it's every stoner it's every National Lampoon film from the early 80s.
Oh wow, he finally got to the modern comedic stylings of 1970s. All right.
Yeah, Porky's, and then eventually
I was gonna say, did Vince just watch like Superbad or something?
Oh
like,
Christ!
The funniest thing in the world ever. Haha.
Could you imagine Vince? I can imagine for a man who finds great humour in pushing people into swimming pools, I can imagine he would find it hilarious that one of the characters is called McLovin.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Don't like
the
that.
exact kind of thing I would expect.
Yeah.
But moving on.
Please.
Going through very short-term builds, we now have AJ Styles and Omos versus Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston for Mania for the Raw Tag Team title. Again, this is something that's basically been developed over like 2 weeks.
Yes.
I mean, I'm excited to see Omos in the ring. The dude's like 7'1", probably taller.
And let's hoping a big guy that's that looks very, very intimidating just doesn't end up being another Giant Gonzalez. Because the world doesn't need another Giant Gonzalez.
It doesn't need another Giant Gonzalez. There's been exactly one of them, and that's enough. But
then there's the Great Khali.
Genuinely, though, my biggest worry, though, and this probably sounds stupid, is I'm really worried that he'll have bad gear. It's going to make him look stupid.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need that because they've made him look so good with the suits.
Yes.
Like, they got the fit on point, but now I'm just like, he's going to have gear now. And like, if they go for like the Diesel style gear, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But like, if they give him the singlet, it's a wrap.
Because I know he said like in that little segment a week or so back about his favorite wrestler being Andre the Giant. Don't take that literally, please.
I'm just worried. But hey, either way, there should be some good moments out of it because it has AJ Styles in it.
That is very true.
The Fiend appeared and was on a swing with Alexa Bliss.
As you do.
I mean, like, look, I think the thing most people are saying now is people are genuinely just like, oh my god, this has gone on forever at this point.
Yeah, I'm shocked that Alexa Bliss has stayed with the Fiend this long.
Well, she's been doing really good work. I just genuinely think people are getting tired of it.
Again, this is why we can't have nice things as wrestling fans.
Like, there's loads of really, really cool ideas, but it's also just like, and like Alexa Bliss has been pretty fantastic in the role.
Yes,
it's just a lot of people are like, oh, this again.
Kind of surprised. Kind of surprised they haven't just like, if not like Alexa Bliss, at least just the Fiend just not being on TV, just being there as a presence, because Alexa Bliss is there, and then he comes back and it's like, oh shit, he's back. Oh no.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that they did the return at Fastlane, but I guess probably for them it was like, we can't justify putting a Randy Orton match on last. Because basically his feud has been with Alexa Bliss, and I don't think they're going to do an intergender main event just for the sake of a gimmick. I mean, it is possible, but like I wouldn't see them doing it.
I'm just hoping by Mania that Randy forgoes his bad digestive problem with licorice.
Yeah. Dude, that treacle, though, hits you hard. Yeah, but then finally, as we get into it, Baron Corbin appeared on Raw and is working with Bobby Lashley, maybe?
What a weird concept.
So it's, from one good thing to Baron Corbin hate.
This is your often reminder that the brand split is apparently a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it came after basically they were just like, okay, Drew, just go and beat Ricochet and Mustafa Ali, and then we'll just have you get attacked from behind. I wish I knew.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with this, because realistically the places it lends them to are, I guess, either Baron Corbin is coming to Raw, or someone's going to SmackDown, or someone from SmackDown wants, like, Bobby Lashley to be champion.
He needs a new recruit for his round table.
But, hey, who am I to say?
Yeah. Oh, God.
Moving on next, though, to NXT, I have to say, first off, just give a shout out to the gauntlet elimination battle royale thing.
Yes.
Because that was pretty great.
That was booked pretty well for a battle royale.
Yeah, no, genuinely booked pretty well. So we now know... Well, we now know that we're getting, obviously, Pete Dunne versus Kushida for night one of TakeOver.
Yes, please. Inject that into my veins.
Yes. And then we have our people who are set for the... I think it's just a 6-man match.
Yes.
To decide who then faces Johnny Gargano on night 2 of NXT Stand and Deliver.
You know what? I'll say this now. I ever since that match and the aftermath of that battle royal, part of me really actually does want to see LA Knight versus Johnny Gargano at night 2.
Well, I think that's the obvious choice. It's the one that makes sense. Because it's someone new, it's someone that mixes up the division a bit, and it's someone who's already got. Because they could pretty easily pivot that into him and Bronson Reed. Because they've already had a match and they've already kind of made the point out of those two. And as I've said before, I think the great thing of it is that Dexter Lumis doesn't need a title.
He didn't even need to wrestle in the Battle Royal.
I mean, yeah, he did also just stand in the corner menacingly. Which I'm here for, because if they sell him as being scary, then people will be like, I don't want to go near him. I'll just let him vibe in the corner over there. But I think the great thing at that is they can just have him as an ever-present threat.
Yes.
And I think someone like LA Knight would be good to then set up someone else. If you then want to have LA Knight, going for the NXT title.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still maintaining I'm still maintaining one day that Kushida wins the North American Championship.
Oh, he should. He absolutely should. Like, it shouldn't be a discussion.
Thank you. Someone agrees with me.
Yeah. No, because, like, what? Are we just not going to let this guy who's really good hold a title? I mean, obviously that can be the case. But, like, they put so much investment into him in the North American title scene that they really should do it.
Yes. Absolutely.
We also had Santos Escobar versus Tyler Breeze, which was a pretty good match. I don't know why they made it a title match, but I mean it was. One of my personal favorite matches was Zoe Stark versus Raquel Gonzalez.
Yes.
I mean, for anyone that hasn't watched Zoe Stark on the independent scene, I wish I could remember what her name was on the independent scene right now, because I just had to keep reminding myself that she's Zoe Stark in NXT, and I've forgotten the other one. Absolutely fantastic. They put a bunch of stock into her. And so hopefully soon she'll be seeing herself into the title scenes. I mean, obviously I expect Raquel Gonzalez to kind of be filling Rhea Ripley's spot in the NXT women's title scene, so a big match between her and Io Shirai will be coming up soon, I imagine. I mean, obviously she's got the one at Takeover Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, it's
which if there was a moment to do it, that would certainly be a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I would love to. I would love to see something like that happen pretty soon, and of course with the rest of the signings that they brought in at that same time. So she's now Gigi Dolan, formerly I believe Priscilla Kelly.
Correct.
I'm super interested to see what direction they go with her, and I think she could be a big pickup for NXT.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily say on the same scale of impact as Paige, but potential to be that same kind of talent.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But no, absolutely fantastic all around. Going into, we're going to shift over to AEW because that's just super easy for me to have it. This week is the way I've got it around. Super crazy to see Christian versus Kazarian in 2021.
And a great match as well. God,
oh, yeah.
Christian can still go. Look, there's no doubt in my mind he can still go.
Oh, yeah. he can definitely still go. He's dropped off a fucking huge frog splash.
It was really... it was great to actually hear his TNA theme now that Tony Khan got the rights to use the TNA theme.
So basically, Christian took the same super soldier serum that Edge did, and it's just fine now.
Yeah, pretty much.
After a decade, what the God's name?
I want to know what the pair of them, what was in that super soldier serum, because God damn, they are for the pair of them are in the best shape of their life.
They are both pushing 50. How is this possible?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like, honestly ridiculous. But for AEW, that Christian versus Kazarian match was absolutely amazing. We've made it clear on here that we are, in fact, still TNA marks. So Christian versus Kazarian will always get a big one out of us.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus Laredo Kid and the Lucha Brothers.
Bloody hell did Laredo Kid take some licks in that match.
Like, genuinely so good. And obviously I know Laredo Kid is committed to other companies as well as working with AEW. But it is just kind of... I guess it's kind of annoying that he's always the one eating the pins.
Yeah.
But, like, I get why they do it.
Same.
But again, I'm happy that he's getting profiled on this kind of stage because he's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, if you weren't a believer before or didn't know of Laredo Kid, you sure as hell do now. because that was great showing from Laredo Kid.
I mean, again, talking about people who are amazing, and again, I talk about her continual improvement, Ty Conti.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic match. And again, it kind of speaks to how people were talking about it, where the two, in terms of the people in the match with Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose, also the bunny in there as well. It's amazing that Ty Conti, after only really being wrestling for like 4 or 5 years at this point, is the one who's stealing the headlines out of this match.
Yeah, that's
in comparison to Shida and Nyla.
That's crazy. I would never have even imagined that, but here we are, and it's actually really cool to see. Really cool to see how much Ty Conti has come leaps and bounds since leaving WWE. Amazing how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Okay, now we've got to talk the main event, right? Brandon Cutler got his dice spot, but now we saw the return of the Lego spot.
Yes. Ow. Ow.
You ever been powerbombed onto a bunch of Lego bricks?
Oh.
No, I don't want it ever.
Look, we all know what standing on a Lego brick is like. Now just trying to amplify that.
They're literally the only Lego bricks are literally the only things made with quality these days. So nope, none of that.
Although I did bear witness as well to the very first instance of an air hockey table spot.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Good to see Chris Statlander back as well.
So happy to see Chris Statlander back. I mean, again, I've made it no secret how much I support her, but I genuinely think that within the next year, she should be holding the AEW Women's title. I genuinely think that she's got that in her.
All in all, that match was ridiculous. It was crazy, and god damn it, did I love every single moment of it.
That's honestly the thing. It's like, it was crazy, but like it's exactly what AEW's been fantastic at doing, which is taking kind of chaotic stuff, but then like bringing it together.
They keep doing it again and again. God damn you, Tony Khan.
You ever seen someone dive off a Mortal Kombat machine?
Yes. I feel like this must have been Miro's absolute dream to do.
This was probably Miro and Chuck Taylor's like dream.
It had to have been, because it's like, I imagine if they would never have let him do this as Rusev.
No, never.
No way. God's green earth are they letting him do that.
But I like, with that said though, like, a fantastic match, and with Miro, it has been so nice to see that it looks like he's genuinely enjoying wrestling again.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, that's the most important thing, I think, for each talent that is in a major promotion, is that if you are enjoying it, that's the ultimate good thing. And I'm so pleased to see a lot of these guys in the major promotions having fun. But then again, I just... more Orange Cassidy as well, please.
What is life but needing more Orange Cassidy?
Now that he comes out to the Pixies, yes.
Yeah, that is true.
Even more, please.
All right, now we're on to SmackDown. Let's get the big bit out of the way. There was a segment involving Logan Paul.
Okay. I have some thoughts, and you might be surprised by these thoughts. For a celebrity guest on a WWE show, on a TV show, he is definitely one of the better ones.
Yeah. It genuinely wasn't an awful segment.
I don't believe you.
He acted the way a celebrity guest should be acting in a WWE segment, in a segment that a celebrity is in. Because look, remember, the president we have is the Ball family, and they were terrible. But then we got, and I thought, right, it's going to be worse now that it's going to have Logan Paul. I was genuinely surprised. He actually really worked well with Sammy. Really well with Sammy, actually. I can't believe I'm saying this, Riordan.
I don't believe you. Straight up, do not believe.
But it ended well. At least it ended with, like, Logan Paul, like, Sammy showed off the trailer for his documentary, and Logan Paul was like, it's okay. I mean, it was quite fun. And he gets turned around, and then Sammy gets turned around and has a stunner, and Logan Paul's like, I'm out of here. Nope, this has nothing to do with me. But it will do, because he's at WrestleMania now.
Yeah.
Right. I'm calling it right now, alright? Logan Paul in Sami Zayn's corner, and KSI in Kevin Owens' corner.
Please, no. Please, no.
Fuck no.
I don't need this.
I don't need this.
Me neither. But you know what Vince is like in celebrities.
I hate that you brought that idea into the world. I fucking hate it.
Well, it could have been worse. It could have been Jake Paul.
I'm gonna punch you.
It could have been worse. It could have been the Apollo Crews and Big E promo.
Oh Jesus! Not the Apollo Crews promo.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So it's kind of hard to describe, but basically their match at Mania now has a stipulation, which, and I quote, a Nigerian drum fight. I don't know what that means or what it entails.
You know what it reminds me of? I'm not alright, shout out to Johnny and the guys at Deadlock, but it did remind me when he said that, is that it reminded me of the Yappa Pie strap match. Yappa Pie, number 1.
What the fuck is that?
Have you not heard of the Yappa Pie strap promo?
I'm saying that as well as a Nigerian drum match where I want to beat someone with a fucking belt for even thinking about that.
All I'm saying,
what
a lot of people brought up, and I'm gonna, I guess we have to bring it up, is that Apollo Crews' newfound Nigerian accent.
Well, we've mentioned that before, though.
A lot of people brought it up and thought it was actually terrible. For his character, it works. It's just the promo he was given was terrible.
Yeah. That's, like, pretty much the most of it. It's like, no, as a character and as an idea, I'm here for it. But, like, the things he's being asked to do and say, I'm like, I don't know, Chief.
It would have been funny if he just said it was a Nigerian spear fight, so the first one who gets impaled wins the match.
I mean, look, I'm just saying, I'm kind of here for that if they want to go that route.
I killed a guy with a trident. Yeah, Apollo, you should hide for a while. You know, the authorities are probably going to be wanting to find you.
Going on, though, next, the women's tag titles continue to be endlessly confusing. I'll never understand them or what is actually happening now.
So I'm guessing the big rumour coming out with this is there's going to be a 4-way tag match for the titles at Mania.
Yeah, see, the problem is that they did that once and it worked, and now they're like, we can do this again.
No, God, no.
Because, I mean, again, apparently the brand split just isn't a thing.
Yeah, because in came Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke.
Then Lana and Naomi appeared.
Oh yeah, they're known as Ravishing Glow. I forgot that they were called Ravishing Glow.
I mean, it's not the worst.
It's not the worst.
I mean,
theoretically, we still don't. I mean, I think they're just called Shay Nia. Like, I think that's just what their tag team name is.
I mean, admittedly, though, Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose do have quite a cool name in Guns N' Roses, so...
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all. I commend the creative person for doing that one.
But, hey, what do I know?
What do any of us know of a pokey wrestling podcast?
Yeah.
About booking for Mania?
And then just finally, we had Daniel Bryan versus Jey Uso. I think, like, this is probably the third time they've done this on SmackDown, but like compared to Raw, not in consecutive weeks.
But yet they still managed to knock it out of the park each time.
Yeah, they were still pretty good.
Jey Uso, man, if he has proved to anyone that he's proven anyone wrong about him just being nothing more than a tag wrestler, cool. The year he's had so far has been tremendous.
I don't think anyone with sense can just call him just a tag team wrestler, and that's a big thing of quotes anyway. But like as if tag team wrestling is somehow easy.
Yeah. But great setup with this one, with Bryan attacking Edge and Roman at the end of this, which I guess will lead into the go home SmackDown being Roman getting his revenge on Edge and Bryan. So everyone's got a point.
Everyone's got a point to prove.
Getting the one up on each of them. So it's finding out who will have it on the night. I am excited for this one. I feel like everyone's got a justifiable reason to be there, as well as a justifiable story going into this match.
I mean for SmackDown's branch of Mania is pretty great.
Yeah, very good. Very good. But yeah, this triple threat. I'm probably the match I'm excited for the most. Because it's Bryan, come on.
Yeah, pretty much. As I said last week, probably the ones I'm looking most forward to are obviously Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. And then probably this match as well.
Yeah.
But just finally, New Japan Strong will now have its own open weight belt, and that's being given to the winner of the New Japan Cup USA. Still pending the entrance being given for that.
My money's on Chris Dickinson because, as I said, he looks like a swole Bars Rutan.
Yeah, I imagine he's probably definitely up there in their rankings. Still, could go a bit crazy with it, but we'll see.
I'm just impressed by that reference you made, Sam, to be quite honest.
No, seriously, Riordan. Chris Dickinson does look like a swole Bars Rutan. I mean, he's trained with Bars Rutan as well, and they have a picture side to side. You'd be like, yeah, he looks like Bars Rutan ate Bars Rutan.
Fascinating.
And then Ring of Honor are going to be premiering their 500th episode, which is going to be a 2-hour special of Ring of Honor. Very interested in that, and very excited to find out what the card is going to be.
If Samoa Joe comes back,
I wish.
I could dream, Harold.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe versus Kenta. 1 hour. It's just the entire second hour.
Just hook it to my veins.
I'm here for it. With that, though, we're done with the news.
Awesome. So, for recommendation corner this week, this one's a very different one to what we usually have. We were approached a few weeks back by the guys over at Suspicious Behaviour Productions, as we received the offer to have a look at their upcoming comic Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia, and I don't know about you guys, but it gets the thumbs up from me.
It's really good. It's
genuinely good. So good. A great throwback to the 80s style of wrestling, and the artwork as well. Props to the artists and the colorists, because it is right up there. So good. So good. So yeah, it's safe to say it gets the Sweet Chinwag podcast seal of approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. Thank you so much to the guys for sending it over to us.
Massively
we
appreciated.
We love wrestling, we love comic books, and we've all given it a read over and all found it very, very enjoyable.
Heck yeah. So remember, that's Suspicious Behaviour Productions and their upcoming comic, Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia. When it comes out, be sure to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty then. With that, it is time to get on to our main portion of this episode. Alrighty. They are an 11-time WWE champion, a 6-time World Heavyweight Champion, a 2-time Universal Champion, 4-time United States Champion, a 10-time Intercontinental Champion, 1-time Raw Tag Team Champion, 8-time World Tag Champion, 1-time Hardcore Champion, 1-time Divas Champion, a 2-time WWE Women's Champion, 1-time SmackDown Women's Champion, 2-time NXT Women's Champion, 1-time NXT Champion, the longest reigning Cruiserweight Champion of all time, and 1-time ECW Champion. And that is just their accomplishments in WWE. Yes, we are talking about the wrestler, the myth, the legend, Vacant. Oh, wow. This wrestler's accomplishments, man, and I'm so looking forward to talking about Vacant. Like, you would not believe. Just
laying it all right there on the line just shows just how credible a wrestler Vacant is.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't quite realize just how many they had.
Yep. And through
there it is.
Every weight class and transcending gender divisions as well. Just,
yeah.
It's incredible. And it's such a funny, not funny, but it's such an interesting way that Vacant started out. So we have to set the clock back all the way to 1913.
Wow, he's been around for a while.
Far too long.
Yeah.
Some would say, but I think not long enough.
I mean, I know
well,
that.
I know. Obviously, some people talk about how multiple people have taken up the mantle of Vacant.
I don't. That's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah,
that's a conspiracy theory. Full on.
Yeah,
indeed.
Right.
So on April 1st, funnily enough, 1913, he defeats Frank Gotch for the World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship. He wouldn't receive that title again until 1946, upon defeating Jim Lundos, and wouldn't receive his next heavyweight championship until April 1968, where he defeated the Spoiler for the World Class Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, I believe the reason they had to drop the title due to the Second World War, to fight.
Oh, absolutely.
So he fought for the country, fought for the world, fought for the free world,
fought for the free world, and we pay respect to the man, the myth, the legend that is Vacant during that time. So I guess this episode, I want to really kind of, rather than going through a chronicling of history of Vacant's accomplishments and career, I just kind of want to riff about our favourite moments from Vacant, our favourite title reigns of Vacant, and why do you think he'll always be in the annals of history as one of the greatest, if not the greatest wrestler of all time? So I guess I'll start with we'll start with Riordan. What is, rather than what your favourite, let's start off with our first memory of Vacant. What was your very first memory of Vacant?
Vacant's been such a presence in my watching wrestling that but when I think Vacant, because I'm an Attitude Era, I think of them refusing to let go of the hardcore title belt.
Yes,
of which I still think they have it to this day out of 2021.
Yeah, in terms of its history and chronology, yes, he still has it. I mean, granted, Mick Foley had it awarded to him in a case back in 2003 in Madison Square Garden, and I remember he also had that same title come out during ECW One Night Stand when he teamed up with Edge to face Tommy Dreamer and Terry Funk.
Yeah, obviously, we can get into the the fine details and how they say it was unified with the IC, but we know the truth.
Yeah, I mean, real talk. I know that we just did something on Mick Foley. I gotta say, I disagree with handing Mick Foley the title. I think that was Vacant's should have defended if they wanted to put the belt on Foley at that time. And I've always disagreed with that. I've always disagreed with how they handled that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. My first memory of Vacant was two memories that kind of happened. They kind of happened out of order. So the first memory I ever had of Vacant was around the beginning of 2000. I was watching WCW, and unfortunately, Bret Hart had suffered a horrible injury, which meant he had to retire. But fortunately for Vacant, he was able to win the title off of Bret Hart and have a one-day reign with that championship after Chris Benoit defeated him for the title. But then, fortunately for Vacant, he was able to get that title back the very next day because Benoit ended up ultimately dropping it to him and then moving to WWF, where he would go along with Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, and Eddie Guerrero to form the Radicals, as everyone remembers. Apparently, Vacant had to do the drop to Benoit because Benoit was very much on his way out. They were using that as a bargaining chip to let him stay in WCW, but Benoit was like, "No, goodbye, see you." Still, I'll take my one WCW championship and then go home to WWF.
No, that's fair. I mean, I do think Vacant maybe stayed a little bit too. Vacant has I've seen like throughout their career that I think Vacant has a bad habit at staying with certain companies for too long, and I think they definitely stayed with WCW too long.
Yeah,
so obviously the WCW run was arguably legendary, but kind of for the wrong reasons.
Absolutely. I imagine we will get onto that because that is definitely one of my my absolute favourite moment of Vacant's. But another moment of mine, as I said, this gets out of order, was like shortly after. I remember going back and watching old ECW when they were known as Eastern Championship Wrestling, and I remember Vacant being in the tournament to crown the new NWA World Heavyweight Champion in August of 1994. He was defeated by Shane Douglas, but then straight after that tournament, after Shane Douglas had won the NWA Championship, he threw the NWA Heavyweight Championship down, declared himself ECW Champion, and Vacant was once again the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. I felt like that was a very wasted tournament. I felt like you could have at least put the title, kept the title on Vacant, or at least given it to Too Cold Scorpio. But for Shane Douglas to win it and then just to throw it away.
Yeah. Why do you think that Scorpio Vacant match didn't happen? Because that's always confused me whenever I've thought about that time there.
I don't know. I feel like with Heyman, it was the case of like he saw that these two guys were too uber talented even for ECW. Maybe it's a case of like they would have sold out the ECW arena too, like it would have been at too much of a capacity. It could have caused a
I mean, I've always been of the thought that maybe that they were just trying to push Shane Douglas, rather than bringing Vacant into the fold.
Yeah. No, I get that.
I think they may have seen him as a remnant of NWA. They shouldn't have stayed there.
I mean, no, I know Dennis. I would have a fan of his.
I mean, I would have been huge for having seen Vacant versus Too Cold Scorpio.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm a huge Too Cold Scorpio fan.
Oh, we know. We know.
I mean, both of us definitely, Dan. But no, what is your first memory of Vacant, Dan?
Yeah, so I wouldn't be able to say, 100% for certain. I want to say probably around the same as you, probably WCW. Although, obviously, kind of the main one I think of is I think of the early WWE run. I think of the the double champ run when Triple H was champion during the Reign of Terror.
Yes.
It was a fantastic run. He was really buoyed up by Eric Bischoff.
I thought it was going to be a massive struggle. I felt like they were going to go with there was only going to be kind of like 3 main champions on Raw at that time. It would have just been Triple H. At that time, it would have been Christian and Chris Jericho as tag champions, and have Vacant as the kind of like the mid-tier champion holding all of that gold. It was
I think for a lot of people it was a weird decision. On reflection, I look at it and I wonder why they kind of consolidated the mid card so much. But honestly, when we're talking about it, I think a big thing that people always put against Vacant to kind of discredit him is it's a habit of lots of title runs, but they're very short.
Yes, and I feel a lot of people discredit Vacant quite a bit as a guy who's never been able to win a title defense as well.
Yeah, and we'll get to that later. But no, that was a very solid run. Really held down the mid card, kept it stable at a time when I think a lot of people were getting dissatisfied with the top of the card.
Yeah,
I mean we've spoken about the Reign of Terror, and the kind of impact that it had, but having someone so dependable fill in that space and having those matches, when it eventually came around with people like Rob Van Dam, your Matt Hardy's, Shelton Benjamin, Charlie Haas.
Yeah.
It was a good time for him. Especially if you're thinking about it coming off that kind of WCW run as well. Obviously difficult to integrate, and we obviously had all the whole kind of Invasion and Alliance storyline to deal with on top of that.
Yeah,
but I think he came out of it pretty well.
He came out of it pretty well. It was just it was a curse of what happened during that alliance, where when you had the influx of the ECW and WCW wrestlers coming in, he got quite lost in the shuffle. With all of those guys coming in. But that's not to say that he didn't end up winning championships, because boy, did he end up winning championships at the tail end of the Invasion angle. But no, it just seemed like with a lot of wrestlers who came in during that, again, kind of petered out, very much lost in the shuffle, especially when they started bringing WWF guys mixing in with the Alliance. But then eventually, when that ending at Survivor Series came, that was his best one of his best moments in WWF for sure. There is, I guess we can talk about it if we're going into like our personal favorite reigns and moments of Vacant. I feel like the one we've got to talk about is undoubtedly his best year ever in wrestling, and that is the year 2000.
Yeah, so I think an important part of talking about Vacant's reigns is obviously this WCW run.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have kind of put it down to, politicking.
Yeah.
A lot of people have put it down to, accusations around his relation to Vince Russo.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think that's a fair credit, because I've always seen. I think the thing that makes Vacant so important to me is he was always someone willing to do the job.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Always put people over.
Yeah, I think you don't get as big as Vacant, especially going up against still The Rock in his prime. Stone Cold Steve Austin was only just glacially slowly on his way out in 2000. You don't get to go toe-to-toe with those guys and still be on the Mount Rushmore, the Attitude Era. And you can't do that by just being friends with Vince Russo. You can't. That's impossible.
Exactly.
I think, frankly, people give Vacant far too little credit there.
Yeah. Because look, let's be honest and just say, if people talk about Vacant that way, when honestly it was more Jeff Jarrett than it was Vacant at that time.
Yeah, it was far more. Jeff Jarrett.
But no, as I mentioned, at the start of 2000, he defeated Bret Hart for one day, and then defeated Chris Benoit for one day, and then a couple of days after, defeated Sid Vicious for that title, but he would lose it a couple of days later to Sid Vicious, who would go on to have, outside of Vacant, the longest run in 2000 with the WCW Championship. But it was one day in April of 2000 where I guess it was the greatest victory that I think Vacant's ever had outside of the invasion, was where he won every single WCW Championship in one fell swoop. Where, again, you could point the finger at Vince Russo, who came in and said that all of the titles now belong to Vacant, but I feel he was justified in having those titles, because...
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. Personally, I'm looking at it, and I don't think I would have given him all the titles. I really think it was a discredit to the cruiserweight division of the time.
I guess you could say
who were still putting out great matches. I think for the world title, though, it was a pretty good decision.
Yeah.
That was pretty unstable. Unfortunately, they hadn't really been able to make things stick. Unfortunately, I can't remember how the TV title was doing at the time. But I can imagine it was a dependable choice.
And no, I that's an interesting one, because I thought he was 100% justified in winning every single championship at that time. I felt like they had to do something that would, at the very least, get people talking, and I felt like that was definitely a good way of getting people talking. It's just unfortunate that when Vacant started losing every single belt, when he lost the WCW Championship, it just got flip-flopped in the worst way imaginable. So you had Kevin Nash, you had Ric Flair, you had... Well, which is not a bad choice, but it was the way Ric Flair won it and then lost it back to Kevin Nash, who would then win it to Jarrett, who would then win it to DDP. And then, of course, we all talk about David Arquette winning the WCW Championship at this time.
Yeah, we all reflect on that time.
It's good, but at least Vacant was keeping himself busy, because around this time, as it was being so terribly flip-flopped, the WCW Championship, he would end up winning the All Japan Triple Crown Championship from Kenta Kobashi in June. Would win the NWA Heavyweight Championship against Naoya Ogawa. Sorry, I misplaced my tongue there. So it was from Ogawa. Sorry, my apologies for that. It wouldn't be until October that he would win the WCW Championship. Not from Booker T, which is what you'd think, but from Vince Russo, who defeated Booker T in a cage match.
Yeah, we've spoken about this decision.
I will never forgive them from taking away the Booker T Vacant match. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. And I have nothing to say other than that.
I don't know what Vince's creative mindset was booking himself in that match when it could have easily have been Vacant, but it's I don't get annoyed sometimes at people's booking. I don't sometimes get annoyed at Vince Russo. But that's one thing I kind of still can't forgive Vince Russo for, was that booking. Just that creative decision. I know he says that the creative decision was beyond him for the David Arquette win. Fair enough, Vince. Cool. If that was pitched to you by outside sources, that's great. But to book yourself to win the championship because you thought that would get ratings, and not to book it against Vacant, was just they grind.
Yeah, ridiculous decision.
But then Booker would eventually win that back in the San Francisco 49ers match against Jeff Jarrett.
Which I choose to forget.
His Vacant's last championship in 2000 would be in October, a few days after that championship win against Vince Russo, when he won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Kensuke Sasaki. And thus caps off his year 2000, which again, you know, I don't think needs to go understated or overstated as one of the best years of his entire career, spanning over 8. Well, at this point now, 8 decades.
8 decades, man.
Must be over that at this point now.
Yeah, it's probably coming up on 9.
What do you think? Do you think that that's one of these wrestling promotions have got to give Vacant like a celebratory match? Surely, right? That's got to be on the card somewhere.
Obviously, it depends. You know, you're thinking about who, you know, like a testimonial kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, really. I mean, personally, if I was thinking about anyone that I would want to have, that I want him to have it with, personally, I feel like it should be within NWA. You know, they have the rich history and relationship. You know, obviously WCW isn't around anymore.
Yeah.
That is true. Man, that is a question I will come back to. But I wanted to talk, as I said, we're getting on to favourite moments and favourite championship reigns. Riordan, what are some of your favourite championship reigns and moments from Vacant's long storied career?
God, there's so many.
So yeah.
You have to go back to me because I do have a few, but I just go back to me. And
I can pick up.
Absolutely, go for it.
Yeah, so for now, I'll stay within the US. Obviously, a little bit later, I want to go on to some different territories as well.
Yeah,
but much like we said, you know, often one of the discredits that's put against Vacant is, you know, the habit of short, stunted title reigns. But then I go back to it, and you know, I think about it. And I feel like we've got to mention Vacant's time and impact.
Oh, yes. Without question.
Yes.
Because, you know, within that time span, I'm looking at like 2013 and 2010. You know, two reigns, a combined 6-7 months.
Yeah, and let us not forget that he got his start way back in 2007 in TNA when he won the NWA World Championship from Christian Cage. And he would hold on to that title for quite a while, actually, because that would have been the time where the Vacant took the NWA title and it was never seen on TNA again. So much so that TNA actually had to create new championships for their promotion.
So they then brought out I believe it was the TNA World Heavyweight Championship.
Yes.
At the time, but no. So you know, obviously, we're looking at it, and then we had Vacant winning over Rob Van Dam, August 2010 on Episode of Impact.
Yeah,
holding that belt all the way up to October. Unfortunately, losing in a 4-way match between Vacant, Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle, and Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Yeah. Good match, though.
It was a good match.
Yeah, it was a very good match. And then that 2013 run after AJ Styles had contract disputes with TNA management. And then that was a hold from October all the way through to December where, unfortunately, he lost to Jeff Hardy. He lost to Magnus. And a match was Jeff Hardy in it.
Yes.
And it was a real shame because, you know, again, I go back to that point of dependability. You know, we're looking at someone that was holding these titles in times where really no one knew what was going on.
Yeah. An interesting time his career in TNA, especially when it came as you get a little bit closer to present day.
Yeah, I mean, again, you move on further and you get to like 2015 where he had another title reign that ran from October all the way through to January. And again, you know, beating Matt Hardy, unfortunately dropping to EC3.
Yes.
But, I mean, again, though, you think about that storyline at the time, and that was really well executed. That helped put EC3 on the map.
Yeah.
Arguably some of the best time in Impact, comparative to before.
For a lot of people that came and went from TNA, Vacant was always one that was willing to stick around and see it through. I mean, so much so that Vacant is still the last and current Impact Global Champion, defeating Alberto El Patron for that title. He has held on to that title now about, for I think, 4 or 5 years now. He's held on to that title, which is an insane run with a championship.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, some people call into question the matter of Global Force Wrestling, and whether or not the title should be recognized. But to my mind, it was still a company's world championship.
Yeah.
And I think it's still important that we do recognize it, even if just for the time that he was holding it.
Indeed. I think, I wouldn't say one of my favourite moments, but I think a very pivotal moment in Vacant's career, which I think the NWA did him a little bit dirty, was he in May, just before NWA TNA's very first pay-per-view show. He took on and defeated Dan Severn for the championship. Now, look, reports are sketchy. A lot of people say that he beat Dan Severn clean in a match. A lot of people said that they stripped Dan Severn of the title and gave it to Vacant because they wanted to have a clean slate for NWA TNA. They wanted to bring in a legend like Vacant. Take it what you will, regardless of whether you're a fan of Vacant or not. Unfortunately, he didn't have that title for long because it was then won in a tournament. He was defeated by Ken Shamrock to win the NWA Championship. I don't think that... I mean, think of it what you will. I mean, Ken Shamrock was dipping between wrestling and UFC at this point. I would have thought my judgment would have been go with Vacant as a credible champion to start out your new promotion with. But, to each their own, I guess.
Yeah, obviously Ken Shamrock is a bold choice.
Especially because I believe that Ken Shamrock hadn't really been around in wrestling that much since he was released from WWE around... Must have been mid-2000, late 2000 it probably would have been.
Yeah, it would have been probably late 2000. It was kind of 2 years where he was kind of flitting between stuff. Personally, if I was in WATNA, I would have tried to shell out for Ken Shamrock versus Dan Severn.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have a lot of people saying, was Ken Shamrock the right choice? And I think it's a bold one.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a very bold choice. I look to his IC runs, and I kind of say a similar thing with Ken Shamrock around that I do D'Lo, where I say, if we weren't in a time of Rocks and Austins and Triple H's and Shawn Michaels kind of arguably at their peak. They would have been world champions.
Oh yeah, no, without question. So an interesting, yet I would say very rocky start. I think NWA TNA got with that, but as I said, to each their own. Riordan, have you thought of one of your favourite reigns or moments of Vacant? Have you had time to mill it over?
Yeah, I think one of the most important moment, and the one that meant a lot to me, was Vacant coming out as genderqueer and then going on to win the Divas Championship.
Oh goodness, yes.
Which is just an absolute milestone.
Oh yeah, how could we forget about Vacant's impact on the women's division, especially with the Divas Championship as well?
Yeah, because I remember reading about it, and I've interviewed like quite a few interviews on this part, but I remember Vacant been a big part of the Divas Revolution, and just really, and they gunned for that so hard.
Yeah, I mean, for a person that has won multiple WWF Women's Championships and defeating so many great names like Mae Young, Alundra Blaze, Bull Nakano, Charlotte Flair as well.
Yeah.
It's just like it made sense. It made perfect sense to bring her in.
Yeah, and can I just say, like Bacon's always been, like, you know, right on the forefront when it comes to mixed wrestling, which I think is great to see. Hopefully, they'll be able to, you know, talk to some of the higher ups and get that more in the mainstream. That would be great. And
obviously, we've spoken about WWE's odd relation with intergender wrestling, and all three of us are vastly for it.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's an important point to talk about the importance of, you know, especially, you know, as we look back on the Divas title, and kind of what it meant, and as we ushered in this new kind of time.
It's you could definitely tell in regards to that that Vacant definitely wasn't doing the booking for Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss in this current storyline. I think they would definitely put a lot more effort into that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, talking of modern day WWE, I guess we can bring up. I love bringing this little factoid up because, of course, Adam Pearce was for one time in the early 2010s quite the reputable NWA World Champion. But of course, Vacant had him in his sights and defeated him for the NWA World Championship. Now, granted, this was the time when the NWA Championship wasn't really as popular as it was. It was kind of seen as a joke because it was being flip-flopped around guys like Adam Pearce, who weren't that well known. Rob Conway, trying to hold on to the career that he had, you know, given that he had Conway heat from that weird Randy Newman song that he came out to in WWE.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
Colt Cabana, of course, held it for a little bit of a while as well at this time. But again, yeah, he got it. He lost it to Vacant in 2012, and I believe Vacant ended up losing that title to Tim Storm, which I guess you could say then ushered in Billy Corgan buying up the NWA, and I guess the resurgence of the National Wrestling Alliance that we have today. I'd say a lot of that is due to Vacant's title win against Adam Pearce.
You know, when we're talking about, you know, name recognition, I think Vacant is up there.
Yeah.
And you know, we're looking at it in, you know, this kind of context now, but for the NWA, it was obviously huge, you know, Vacant taking time, working the independents. And, you know, everyone kind of needs a break from, you know, the big lights every now and then.
Absolutely.
And like I said, you know, Vacant always willing to do the job, always with the company's best interest. Wherever they go. And so, again, for the NWA at the time, I think it was a huge acquisition, you know, having Vacant then lose to Tim Storm, leading to this kind of revival of the NWA.
I don't think a lot of people realise just how important he was to the NWA's resurgence. I felt like that needed to be brought up.
I think the thing is, when you have such a long career as Vacant, it just gets lost in the shuffle. It really does.
I can imagine that. I can understand that as well. Yeah, it's just so good. I mean, I could go on forever. Like, really, I could go on forever with the list of accomplishments here. But there have been some dark times, and there is a dark time that I do want to talk about in his reigns was the time during what people know as the dark times of New Japan Pro Wrestling. where he would win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship in not the greatest fashion. Mostly due to, I guess, Inoki trying to fully embrace Inokiism. I believe even he tried to get Vacant to compete on behalf of IWGP in New Japan in Pride FC. Because I know he usually got guys like Shinsuke Nakamura, Yuji Nagata to try and go up against guys like Mirko Krokop and Wanderlei Silva. I believe his match against Fedor Emelianenko ended in a no contest because both of them knocked each other out at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously spoken a little bit about Inokiism and kind of the impact of the time.
Yeah. But two that really stick out for me in terms of his IWGP heavyweight reigns was when he defeated Bob Sapp to become IWGP champion. Well, I mean, what's this say about Bob Sapp? Former MMA, I guess you could say former MMA mainstay. The guy who played Switowski in the Longest Yard remake. And a mainstay in Japanese food commercials. Apparently, Japan loves Bob Sapp. Inoki loves Bob Sapp because he saw him as a legitimate fighter who looks very intimidating, looked like a wrestler. So that's why he kept him around. The second one I want to talk about is Brock Lesnar. Now, there's a lot about Brock Lesnar's heavyweight reign and his defeat to Vacant that is a lot called into question. Now, at this time, I believe around 2006, when Brock Lesnar was champion and had this match with Vacant to win the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, Inoki was slowly being moved out, I guess, of New Japan.
Well, yeah, so Inoki obviously was getting deeper and deeper into Inokiism, as we would expect from the man.
And slowly and ever so surely, Inoki ended up kind of being out of New Japan, and through this he ended up creating his own World Heavyweight Championship. I believe it might have been I want to say it was the Inoki Genome.
Yeah, it was IGF, which then became ISM.
Indeed, and Brock Lesnar flip-flopped between those, and so did Vacant. So when it came to the New Japan and the IWGP Heavyweight match, there was a little bit of uncertainty going into it, but ultimately, of course, Vacant came with the win, and he is listed now as an IWGP Heavyweight Champion, losing that title to Kurt Angle. When Kurt Angle went on that absolute... He tried to think he could one-up Vacant better and became champion of all the belts. So at that time, if you don't know that time in TNA, there was a moment in time where Kurt Angle was the TNA World Champion, TNA X Division, Tag Team, and IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, it was not. That was. I mean, I don't even know if that would have been Perk Angle time. It would have been because it was his TNA run, but.
Oh gosh. Oh.
No, it would have been because that was all. I think that was all pre-main event Mafia and all that, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Main event Mafia was like 2010-11.
Yeah. It must. Yeah,
I'm just thinking right now. That's like 4 years prior.
But no, that is something that definitely gets brought up because I feel like with the good you have to bring the bad, and there is a balance of Vacant's title reigns and his career. One that I felt like that definitely had to be brought up.
Definitely. One thing I've always said is I personally never felt like New Japan have treated Vacant as fairly as they should. You know, they're very harsh on handing over their titles to him.
Yeah, I think that's just a cultural thing of how Japanese wrestling has developed, honestly, and I don't know if that's something that Vacant can really go over.
I don't think it's much that can be contested. I mean, realistically, we're thinking about his last title run was 2009, before the start of that kind of independent run.
Yeah. I feel I was going to say, and I would say that it's not Japan that are only guilty to this because I feel like his cruiserweight title run started off terribly. Just being handed the title after they said, I don't think we think Hornswoggle's a credible enough champion for the Cruiserweight Championship. I mean, you'd already kind of demolished any meaning that belt had, and then you just give it to Vacant. But at least he gave it some credibility and a lot of notoriety, because a lot of people were clamouring to see Vacant come back and have a very good run with that title. He went on for that title.
Yeah, obviously,
10 years, I think, he had that title.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the kind of the modern cruiserweight revival, and I think a big part of that is obviously people often grew up on watching SmackDown with the cruiserweights, being shown to be just as good. We spoke previously in our episode about cruiserweights about how Gregory Helms, was so easily due to take that step up into the main event, and it just kind of never really materialized.
Yeah.
And the people they had in that cruiserweight division were all top level.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And obviously, we had the end with Hornswoggle, and then Vacant just kind of being given the title because we don't really care, we'll just give it to you. In this time, that love for the cruiserweight division that was then missing kind of started to come back. It was slow. Obviously, it took until it would have been 2015 that we had the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah, I mean, I still, one of my favourite matches was I still talk about this day, 2 of them from that tournament actually, was the triple threat between him, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa. That really started that. He was the reason that feud between Gargano and Ciampa started.
Yeah, people forget that, don't they?
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm more a fan of the end. Him versus Grom Metalik.
Yes.
And TJP. Sorry.
So, no. Yeah, that's true. No, that match was great as well.
I'm personally more for that one. Obviously the decision's the decision.
Yeah, exactly.
But he did eventually come through, get that reign later on. Unfortunately, it was through 205 Live.
It was, and it was against, I believe it was against Enzo Amore as well, which was
unfortunately,
it wasn't a great match against Enzo, but at that time, I don't think Enzo was as good as he possibly could have been.
I mean, I'll be here and say they should have never split up Enzo Amore in Big Cass, but I also just don't like Enzo Amore anymore.
Indeed. I mean, even though everyone, we talk about this final, even though everyone wanted Vacant versus ZSJ versus Kota Ibushi, we were all
obviously everyone wanted that match,
But I get out of the three
unfortunately,
of those,
given the nature of how the title was being awarded and what it was for.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we couldn't get that.
Yeah, out of the 3 of them, it's interesting to know that Vacant was the only one that signed with WWE out of the 3 of those.
I think it's interesting out of those 3, obviously, TJP and Grom Metalik ended up signing as well. And, those 2 haven't really fared as well. Obviously, we can talk about the difficulty with 205 Live and its kind of relation to everything else.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yes, we can. It's been an awkward time for the Cruiserweight division, but I think ultimately it has found its feet now. I mean, we've got this great ladder match coming up between Vacant and Santos Escobar. I think that's going to be a great NXT takeover match, if you ask me.
Oh, it will be a fantastic match.
I don't understand why Shawn Michaels threw a ladder at Vacant. That whole segment still.
Yeah,
we talked about it the other week.
I mean, yeah, we spoke about it the other week. I assume it's just WWE practice that whenever there's a unification match, it has to be a ladder match now.
Yeah,
pretty much. Alrighty. 2 more questions, I guess, topics we can talk about on this one. What do you think are some of Vacant's funniest reigns or moments as a champion? We'll start with Riordan. What do you think is one of the Vacant's funniest moments?
I think, ironically, the funniest moment is when Vacant, for some reason, doesn't show up to matches. I don't know why, but it always just gets a laugh out of me because he's just such a studious professional that whenever he doesn't show up, it just kind of gets a kick out of me because you're always waiting for him to just pop up somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, I've just remembered one of my funniest moments. One of my favourite moments was when Mick Foley had awarded Vacant with the 24/7 championship. And then everyone who decided to, because of course it was under the 24/7 rules, everyone dogpiled on top of Vacant to try to clamour for that championship. And then
that was when Titus O'Neil became
the second
holder of the 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah, that made me laugh. Not only because of how awful the 24/7 championship still looks.
It still looks like a weird vinyl record.
Oh god, yeah, you're right.
A weird vinyl record pasted on like a WBC boxing belt. But no, fair play. Give what you take with Vacant. He'll take any championship at any time. But no, that was one of my funniest moments. It's like just the massive dog pile on top of Vacant, and then eventually having Titus O'Neil run with the title, and eventually R-Truth getting there at the end of the night. But
his baby.
But he's still having very consistent reigns with that. He's been having quite the rivalry with R-Truth, Akira Tozawa, and Bad Bunny. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Obviously, I think personally R-Truth is the one true holder.
Yes. I will have our Vacant reign one day, I promise you.
Yeah, we will.
Dan, what is one of your favourite reigns or moments from Vacant?
So I'll take it aside a little, just for a little bit, because I think one thing that people unfortunately forget, I don't know whether or not this is necessarily kind of through the fault of other people, or maybe just because they don't pay as much attention to it. But I do want to talk about Vacant's time in Mexico.
Ah, yes.
Because while he isn't as storied down south of the border, I think it's really important to recognize the kind of impact that he has had. So I think obviously the biggest thing to start with is that they've held titles in CMLL and AAA.
I believe as well that his gimmick down there was of the faceless luchador El Vacante, wasn't it?
I believe so. They had to change it up for AAA.
Yes.
But we're looking at a 5-time CMLL World Heavyweight Champion, 2-time AAA Mega Champion. And we're talking about that being huge, but we're looking at a going on an almost 5-month run in 1992. PBC and Karas, who ended up leaving to go to AAA after losing to Black Magic in Mexico City in November of '92.
Yes,
but the one I really want to go to is 2015. Vacant beating Alberto El Patron for the AAA Mega title.
I remember this.
It was a run that went from November 2015 to March 2016.
Yes.
Huge run
at the time.
And it's difficult to really put into the context.
I believe this run the match was left such an impact on Alberto El Patron that he actually had to leave and go to the WWE.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's twice this has happened where he has beaten someone and then they've just left the company.
Yeah.
But also, that was a huge run. Completely dominant over AAA. Ended up came through, put over El Texano Jr.
Yes.
Who then went into a fantastic rivalry with Johnny Mundo.
Oh yes, that is a good rivalry. Actually, that is really good.
And then like you look back on it again, and then like even a little bit before that, making another brief appearance in CMLL for 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And then another just short run after beating Marco Corleone.
Yes, the former Mark Jindrak, actually, I believe.
Yes, former Mark Jindrak, who again then, after beating him, left CMLL.
Yeah.
Ended up dropping it to Ultimo Guerrero at, in October 2018, who now still holds it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think people just kind of forget the kind of reach, working multiple styles.
Mm.
The kind of range of that, and also clearly the impact that he's had on the Mexican scene.
Absolutely.
2 times beating champions in 2 different decades and then making them leave companies.
That's when you know you are a serious player in the world of wrestling, when you can do that to
we're talking serious dominance here, and like I said, winning CMLL, winning in AAA.
Mm.
And that's without even going into the undercard titles as well. We're talking top championships here.
Yeah, true.
Yes, if memory serves me correct as well, I believe he may still be holder of the of Lucha Underground titles as well. At this moment in time,
so currently, he would be.
Yeah, because I don't know if it's been made official yet, but the rumor going around that he has been awarded the Lucha Underground Championship as well as the Gift of the Gods Championship as well.
Well, yeah, so obviously, we're here and Lucha Underground still technically exists.
Mm.
Obviously, the company hasn't done recordings and such. But as far as we know, the company still does exist. So I believe we should still recognize the titles.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, as you go on to the other bit that you said about the funniest moments, I mean, I have to say, throwing the pie at Kevin Owens. It was a small moment.
Yes.
It was a small moment, but I personally found that incredibly funny. But I guess for funniest moments, the thing I'd like to bring up was always the habit of tripping up Lillian Garcia.
Oh God, goodness, yeah, and JBL. He also did it to JBL a number of times.
Yeah, he also did it to JBL, but I just always remember, the two of them coming down to do the, Lillian would go down to do the ring announcing, and then Vacant would kind of just, chill at the commentary booth.
Yeah.
Mm.
Just every couple of times, stick a leg out, trip Lillian over. It was pretty funny to me at the time. Still kind of sticks with me now.
Oh gosh, all this remembers me. All of this has reminded me of some of those really funny moments that he does. Do you remember the time where he managed to slip Batista over after Mark Henry pushed him off the apron?
Yes.
It was a weird thing that he kind of tumbled, but then you saw Vacant get on all fours, and then Batista just tripped right over him. I also remember the time he knocked Randy Orton off of the announce table, but his leg got caught in one of the holes where the monitors are, and so he pushed Orton further off, and then the table came down with him. God, that was so goddamn fun. I also remember that John Cena gave him one hell of a clothesline, but Vacant ducked, and then Cena just ate shit on the mat.
Yeah, he's got good reflexes, Vacant.
He's got
really
damn good reflexes. I also remember a time, I think it was 2002, it was a ladder match between Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam. And then Eddie Guerrero gets up on the ladder, and credit where credit's due to Eddie, he didn't realise that Vacant had entered the ring and was pushing the ladder. Quick as a cat, Eddie lands straight on his feet as he was on the top of the ladder and proceeds to beat the shit out of Vacant.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Vacant kind of deserved that one.
He did deserve that one, yeah, because he did not plan that ahead of
time. That was slightly unnecessary. But hey,
okie doke. So I guess before we head off, one little quick question, and then we'll get to the final question. What do you think of Vacant's current reign as NXT Tag Team Champion?
Controversial, to be honest. I would say. I think that's fair to say.
I mean, personally, I don't think this is Vacant's time. for the NXT tag title. Personally, I'd rather see it on. I would argue that they should have just given it straight to MSK.
Agreed. If anything, I would have liked to have seen Lorcan and Birch have it a little bit longer as well.
Yeah,
I mean, you can throw a couple different things around there. Obviously they have such dependable tag teams as Breezango, grizzled young veterans, or Imperium, who could have taken up immediately. I don't know why they gave it to Vacant. It was an odd decision,
especially under so much dubious circumstances, to break Danny Burch's shoulder to win the title. That was just a bit. I don't think that was a bit off, if you ask me.
Yeah. Obviously, that decision was really tough. I know obviously Lorcan and Birch are still riding some heat from the time they injured Ridge Holland.
Yes.
And it's a shame because they were really going from strength to strength. It was a shame we hadn't seen, Pat McAfee working with them, and Pete Dunne's kind of disappeared on his own path.
Mm-hmm.
But, you look at it and you think, well, they've decided to do it this time, but I don't necessarily agree with them on it.
Yeah, it's an awkward time, but given that Vacant's going to go up against MSK, was it and GYV Stand and Deliver?
And GYV.
It's going to be. I reckon that is going to be a show stealer for Stand and Deliver.
Oh no, absolutely.
So, the final question for you two chaps, as we always like to usually end with these, is what do you think Vacant's lasting legacy will be in wrestling?
God, I mean, being everywhere. Won it all, done it all.
Yeah.
I think Vacant's legacy that's most important is him as just being that one person that everyone this is a man who's this is a person who's taught the Undertaker everything that he knows and really made sure that the Undertaker knew how to manage the locker room, and I think just being a teacher is the biggest thing for Vacant.
I mean, you pick a name, he's pretty much helped them and mentored them in wrestling. Every name. You say Undertaker, I think of guys like Austin, Rock, going to Japan, Masahiro Chono, the Four Pillars of Heaven, Minoru Suzuki, even down to El Santo and the Blue Demon in Mexico. This guy's reach is seemingly infinite and has touched so many lives and been such a positive influence in the world of wrestling. He is the Mount Rushmore. Just four faces of complete nothingness will be there. He is the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, is Vacant.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's difficult to overstate the amount of legacy you can have with an over, 70-plus year career.
Yeah,
you go from title to title, and you're looking at it and you're thinking, what can you do about it?
Yeah.
How can you honor it, really?
Indeed.
I think the thing is, though, is that he's just one of those. It's just one of those names that's going to be in the record books. It's going to be, when we're going through the legacy, talking about the greats of the business.
Yeah, absolutely, without question. Alrighty then, chaps. That is pretty much going to wrap it up for us. But that is what we think of Vacant. This is going to be a nice one. So, a usual change of pace, we decided, and Dan put out an open call to everyone on Twitter, to wrestlers, to podcaster, and content creators out there, our friends in the IWC and the wider wrestling community, to give their thoughts on the impact and influence of Vacant. And I reckon, given time for future Sam to sort this out, that is going to come up right about now.
Okay, for 1 point, name the wrestler who has held the top title in every promotion.
Ric Flair?
Incorrect. Has a storied 80-year career?
Undertaker.
Incorrect. Has the best entrance music?
Big Show.
Oh, Jesus Christ. This is why we failed at the Christmas quiz, gentlemen. You're all wrong. The answer was, of course...
Ace reporter and kick-ass wrestler Ricky Dodgerson here. And I've discovered through at least 10 minutes of arduous research that potentially through the genius of time travel they have one of the longest careers in all of wrestling. Tournaments are held just to face them in the ring. And they're so intimidating that they once made Brock Lesnar make them a sandwich. This is Ace reporter Ricky Dodgerson, signing off.
Yeah, as I said oftentimes on the Last Minute Wrestling podcast, wrestling is not that big in Italy, but I remember the first time I saw this guy on my TV screen. I was 10 years old and literally the world stopped. And I can pretty much say that is why I started this podcast.
The Major is prepared for any and all opponents. You've taken out The Undertaker, Edge, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Kenta Kobashi, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and even Alberto Del Rio. But the Major is prepared for his chance to take any championship off vacant.
Hi, it's the hardest part of the ring from the Apron Bump podcast, and oof, I mean, what is there to even say about this individual? I mean, when I was, asked to give my thoughts on the current TNA Global Champion, I mean, there was just a potpourri of thoughts that entered my mind, a bukkake of thoughts, if you will, of just accolades upon accolades, moments in time that will live forever. Just a storybook career by this entity. I mean, from the time they came into WWF and just swiftly beat Andre the Giant like it was nothing, then they've gone on to have such a renowned career. World championships, tag championships.
Honestly, I don't know what to say that hasn't been said already. Truly, a once-in-generation talent. And when we go back into the annals of history, we're always going to see this individual as a true pioneer of what it means to be a professional wrestler. Honestly, my mind goes vacant thinking about what they haven't done for this business.
Hello, listeners of the Sweet Chinwag podcast. If you don't know me, I'm the professional wrestling manager and advocate that rules the waves of this vast podcast ocean. That's right, if you want your career to go places, if you want to get to the top and stay there, if you want to be the Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour, there is only one man you call, and that is me, Prince Arjun of the Drawing Heat podcast. My buddies Sam, Riordan, and Dan have asked for my opinion on a wrestler. You may not think of this wrestler as the greatest, but he has victory after victory for over a century. Hulk Hogan, John Cena, Macho Man, Randy Orton, Ric Flair, you name him, this man has beaten them. WCW, WWE, ECW, AEW, MSW, MAW, WOW, WAP. It doesn't matter which promotion you're talking about, this man has been there and conquered that. And if you ask me, that's the exact kind of guy I'd kill to represent. And that man is vacant.
Women's championships, European championships. Hell, they've even become multi-sport champions, beating George St. Pierre in the UFC. The list goes on and on. Every single, you talk about Grand Slam champions, Triple Crown champions. There's not even a term for this person. Legends that they've defeated. Batista, Daniel Bryan, Rhino, Bull Nakano. Hell, this person has become so dominant that they've won titles and then those divisions just evaporate because nobody wants to challenge them. When they beat Hornswoggle for the Cruiserweight title or when they beat China for the women's title. Utter dominance. So impressive. And who knows when they'll hang it up. If they ever do, I don't think they'll ever retire.
The phrase greatest of all time gets thrown around a lot these days. But I believe this man truly is the greatest of all time. If you look at his record, every company he's been in, major, independent, whatever, he's been a champion in every company. Sometimes even multiple companies. The man, he's unreal. He's so good. Like, he genuinely might be the greatest of all time. And now I've been booked with him in a match 1 year from today. I'm scared. I've never really been scared of an opponent before, but this man has got me shaking in my boots. He's just too good. The training I'm going to need to go through in order to prepare myself physically and mentally for this match, it might break me. But I'm willing to take the steps if I need to do so. So, let's get to it.
So if there's any wrestler that I would like to face or are inspired by, and I can answer yes, there is. He's not one I want to face merely because that he has held titles everywhere he's been. I've actually never seen him without a title, to be honest. He's never been in a company or wrestled for anybody where he was without a title, you know? So he's very accomplished. I don't think he gets the recognition he deserves. And I know if he comes to Denmark at any point, Body Slam Pro Wrestling, it will only be a matter of time. Or not only a matter of time, I actually think that he will just step into the locker room and boom. Now he's the champ, right? So, and he's so humble about it. Really, you barely hear him say, you know, a word about it. So, I think he's an inspiration. To me, he definitely is. He's a real brother.
Hell, I thought they were the Raw Women's Champion for the past few months until Rhea Ripley came out and challenged Asuka. I thought that they were the Raw Women's Champion at that. It seemed like it, did it not? But yes, an absolutely monumental career. And their opponents know when they get in the ring with this person that it's not a time for a vacation. It's like vacant, but vacation, but I threw vacant in there. Okay, I'm done. Hail Satan.
Icon. Legend. Trailblazer. All words, all terms bandied about willy-nilly to describe the latest and hottest thing in wrestling. But for this guy, all of those words ring true. Whether it's on the stick, whether it's on the mat, whether it's on the ropes, whether it's a gesture to the crowd, whether it's a throwaway line mid-match. It's indescribable and inexplicable how important his impact on the wrestling industry has been. Whether it's today's wrestling, yesterday's wrestling or tomorrow's wrestling. That impact, those tremors from every movement, every move, it's undeniable. Hats off to you, lad.
One of the greatest reigns ever. I mean, he came in and held it for as long as he could until someone else had to pick up the slack and win it, you know? So, Vacant has just been a really good champion, you know, whenever times get tough. Even Vacant has even been a women's champion when, like, I remember when Naomi had to give up the title for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or whatever due to an injury that she sustained in Elimination Chamber. She held it and then passed it, and he held it and then passed it all the way on to Alexa Bliss until Naomi was able to win it again. So Vacant has just been able to sort of go back and forth between, you know, various divisions and do everything that he possibly can in order to keep everything going whenever a person falls off. So, hey, Vacant is just one of the best champions around. Like, they're dependable. They're able to, be there whenever someone else isn't. So I feel like it's about time that we give Vacant his flowers. How about you?
Vacant? You mean the Vacant? You mean the greatest wrestler of all time? The wrestler who's been world heavyweight champion, WWE champion, so many times that I've lost count. So many times that it's even impossible to think of a number. That is the greatest wrestler in history. In history of any company. Of any company. And the thing is, I don't even believe I could beat him. I don't think I could. And I've beaten every single person I can think of. But Vacant, that guy, I'm scared of him. Genuinely scared of him. Genuinely sends shivers, absolute shivers down my spine. Every time I have to say his name, say that name, think of him. I just want to cry. Oh, God, he's too good. Too fucking good.
I just want to give a massive shout out to every single person that contributed to that. It's massively, massively appreciated. The names will be tagged. They will all be tagged in this, and permitting that I get it all done and out of the way, you should see the video version of that up on our YouTube channel and on socials around the same time of this upload, or at the very least probably the next day afterwards. So no, massive thank you to everyone who contributed to that. Massive thank you as well to Dan for putting out the call for that. Massively appreciated. Thank you for that, buddy.
It's okay. That's what I do.
Man, come on. It was going to be easy when we brought up Vacant.
Oh, of course,
so everyone clamoured to try and be a part of that. Alrighty then. Next episode is going to be our episode all about WrestleMania. Right, now granted, this is probably going to be straight after WrestleMania, but it's our WrestleMania episode. On this one, we're going to be talking about, everything WrestleMania centric. Our first experiences with WrestleMania, our favourite WrestleManias, what makes a good WrestleMania, what makes a bad WrestleMania, and some of our favourite moments, celebrity appearances, and indeed matches from the grandest stage of them all. It's going to be like a best and worst, but more kind of like a variety best and worst, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah. All right. Basically, one person researched WrestleMania X7.
Yes, basically what we're going to do. I'm going to watch the OSW
We need
review.
variety, please.
The OSW review of WrestleMania 17 over and over and over again. Shout out to those Irish lads. Alrighty then. All that's left for me to say is that I've been Sam. This has been Dan, Riordan, and Vacant. What are you doing here? Oh my goodness, it's an absolute pleasure to see you here, sir. I need to end it right. We've been listening to the Sweet Chinwag podcast. We'll see you on the next one. Jesus, Vacant, you could have told me you were coming. It's a joke!